Okay. I code switch well, I say that. Hey, yo! It's Shanti. Welcome to the Shanti Show. I'm here with...
Petals, Sandcastle.
Okay. Hi, Petals. How are you doing today?
I'm great.
You're doing great?
Yeah.
It's beautiful to hear. It's beautiful here. I'm doing phenomenal. I thank you for accepting this, for wanting to come on, honestly. Truly, I really do. I think we want to start off with just what you do, what qualifies you to be you, and to be speaking on truly anything.
I love that. What qualifies me to be me? Probably because my dad and mom, like, did the thing.
Yeah, probably.
And, like, I was the only offspring that they made together.
Lovely.
So literally there
you won
is
the
no
first
one
war.
else qualified. Exactly. So we are currently in our studio in downtown Ann Arbor called Now Studios, which is a brick and mortar for our nonprofit, our 501c3 nonprofit, which basically just means people can give us lots of money and it can be a tax write-off for them. And it means we don't pay taxes. So basically all a 501c3 is. But our 501c3 Express Your Yes is like my main baby, which is basically fusing art and activism, right? So it's basically taking all forms of creativity and blending it with civic engagement so that our art actually counts or something. I think it's very easy for the system to make our art stay in the box. It's like, oh yeah, let the artist sound off.
Yeah.
But you never have to actually take what they're saying to heart kind of thing. You go to the movie, you're like, holy shit. And then you go and vote for the same people forever. It's like trying to make the art matter, I guess. The music matter more.
That's lovely. I know you don't use traditional pronouns. Can you tell me your pronouns?
I'm kind of all over. I think in general, pronouns are a strange thing. They're like a binary trap. They're trying to like make us label ourselves into something. So like whatever, like potato, fairy, leprechaun, they, them, she, he is like becoming harder to associate with just because like masculinity, I think, is like really messing planet Earth up.
Yeah.
So like identifying with he, even though I'm biologically a he, is a struggle. Like, you know.
I feel that. Let's start there. Can we talk about your journey to getting to that point where maybe like you felt as though less identifying as he.
Yeah, I mean it goes usually. Oh yeah. Well, it's crazy to me
because we're ignorant to it, so that's why I make this feel like.
Well, it's very farm town out in Lodi, so these 7 basically Republicans just like they're just running unopposed, right? It's like I don't really know how to explain it. It's the strangest thing. Like, well, you know West Willow, right? It's like there's an immense amount of poverty 20 minutes away, and there's like 7 Republicans owning a town 10 minutes away, and then we're in this bubble that just like has all of the power and resources and ability to make change outside of its own bubble. And it's like this place is addicted to hoarding its resources a little bit. It's not exactly, or not addicted. It's not exactly know how to, but bro, like 7 Republicans are running a town 10 minutes away. They're not called city council in Lodi. They're called, I forget, towns. There's a word, chairperson, whatever, the committee, the trustees. And so they're, it's much easier to run for office than people think, especially locally. There's 500,000 offices up for election, right? And most people think either A, politics is terrible, and if you get into it, you're just going to be like messing with the fascist crazy sharks who created this problem in the first place, or people think it's too hard. You have to raise too much money. I have too much baggage. I have too many demons. People are going to find out my stuff. And I think the best people to run for office don't actually run because of all these factors, right? They're like my husband right now is terrified of me running because the first thing people go after when someone actually gets power is not the person, it's their family. It's who they love, especially in politics. Like even locally, seeing how it's playing out, me just starting to get a little bit of traction and being on the news and all of that, the way that this city has gone out of its way to suppress momentum, right? Because if queer people and neurodivergent people and trans people and Black people and just people who are not part of the straight, white, heteronormative, masculine, war-hungry, capitalist-hungry narrative, if we really rose up and reclaimed our power, like, you know, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene, it would be Joe Biden, they would be a thing of the past immediately. But they have really spent the last 300 years, I think, this country building the belief out of us that we actually can affect change, right? And we do see someone rise the ranks, an AOC or Obama or whatever, kind of somewhat let down, because it takes more than one person. You know, if there's 500 members of Congress, you can't have 5 or 10 of them who are speaking the good. Yeah. Because 520 of them are just going to vote over them. Do you know what I'm saying? So just more of us have to run. So that's my big plug, is like, I'm looking at the two of you.
Run for Congress?
Run for city council, run for school board, run for state rep, run for commissioner, there's 500,000 offices, ones that fits you perfectly. Okay. Right? Some library board.
Oh my goodness.
Brick wall, fifth wall.
I hate this dude. Okay, so first and foremost, you said people like us should be in positions of power, but honestly, I'll be honest. I feel as though maybe I'm not equipped or knowledgeable enough to be in a position of power when it comes to other people's lives. The accessibility, the knowledge that comes behind being in that position. Can you learn it as you come?
I mean, do you think the electeds that are currently in office are
do they know anything
equipped for the job?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you can learn how to make a pizza, right? You can't learn how to have empathy that believes every mouth should be fed. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that this is why most corporations now, they're like, if you don't have a bachelor's degree, lie to us. Yeah. Right? Like, come in, if you know your stuff, however you got to where you are, come in with that. I think people are like, the idea of having to have a bachelor's degree or tons of experience, we're moving beyond that, right? But Donald Trump became president, the biggest office in the world, and he had never even held office before. He'd never even been mayor of like the tiny little town, right? He'd never, you know, if we look at, I feel like Donald Trump, I'm not pro-Trump or pro-Biden. I think Joe Biden is a genocidal maniac. I think he has videos in the 1970s saying if we didn't have an Israel, we would have had to invent one, right? This has been I believe, a pretty long-term plan to annihilate the Middle East. I believe the West has a plan to destroy Islam. Yeah. And what they're telling us is that Islam wants to destroy the West. And so I don't think Joe Biden or Donald Trump should be president. I don't think either of these white, old, rich, male, straight, colonial, supremacist, sexist, like pussy grabbing, like, it's crazy, but it does show just how either savage we are as Americans, or how like paralyzed we are, or how out of touch we are, or how clueless we are, or how much we're receiving our information from the empire, whatever it is. It's not as if like, you know, we are collectively allowing this to happen. Yeah. Right? When I talk to people in Ann Arbor, like, will you vote non-committed in the primary? Will you just vote non-committed in the primary? It doesn't matter. Joe Biden's going to win anyway, just to show, because it was a big movement here in Michigan, right? And it was to say, hey, we don't approve of the genocide, right? We want to pause this and say we want to have a conversation. And most of my friends in Ann Arbor, they're like, I could never do, like, they'll speak for hours about their beliefs, right? But then when they have to do the tiniest little thing to put their beliefs into action, they balk. It's like they're disassociated from themselves. And that is a real problem, I believe, with the progressive, pseudo-woke, liberal, and it's not just white, straight people, but they are certainly the people who are pushing the narrative the hardest, because they're the ones who like status quo the most. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So non-committed. Okay. So there's primaries, right? So there's primaries, and then there's the election, and the primary is like all the Democrats are fighting to be the nominee, and all the Republicans are fighting to be the nominee, and all the Green Party are fighting to be the nominee, right? And so they're primaries. And then the Democrats will say, this is our guy. The Republicans will say, this is our guy. right? And then starting in August, each of our guys will start fighting each other till the death, right?
Yeah.
So non-committed in Michigan, predominantly mostly people in Dearborn did it. Obviously, they have a heavy Palestinian population, a heavy Arab population, a heavy Muslim population. And it basically says, like, so when the ballot came, it basically said Joe Biden, and then it said Marianne Williamson, and then it said Dean Phillips, and then it said non-committed. Those were your choices, right?
Okay.
And so people were just asked to check non-committed, which doesn't really matter, right? Because he's going to win no matter what. But it's a way of saying we're on to. We want to have it's basically not falling behind our guy, right? It's not like, because that's fascism. When you stop questioning your guy, right? Like the Democrats didn't have a primary. This is unprecedented, right? They decided we're going to get behind Joe Biden, even though 70% of Americans don't like him. He has a 30% approval rating. We're going to get behind this guy because he's a puppet, right? He's literally, he's checked out to lunch in a lot of ways, right? And that just goes to show how the empire, the shadow empire, people really ruling this country are not the faces that you get to check a box in a ballot thing for, right? So non-committed also is a way of being like, hey, shadow empire, we see you, right? We're not going to just pay our taxes forever to fund war and genocide, right? Whether you flip burgers or do heart surgery, your money is going to fund genocide right now. Every single person that's paying taxes right now is funding war, right? Because 35% of the budget goes to war. So 35% of your tax dollars goes to fund the defense budget. And right now, 90% of that money is going to Ukraine and Russia and Israel and in Palestine, right? Yeah. So that means that like every hour a mom is like teaching whatever, every hour that kindergarten teacher's teaching someone, several dollars of that are literally going to kill babies in the Middle East right now.
Yeah.
And, it's
disheartening.
It's disheartening.
100%.
And it's not going to change unless it changes, right? The system's not going to unpack itself.
Of course.
The system's not going to be like, oh yeah, we are racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic assholes who want to make everyone spend their whole lives raising money to pay rent, right? Yeah. They're not going to do that. They're not going to have a come to Jesus moment and be like, oh my God, reparations. Yeah. Oh my God, universal health care. They have no incentive they will not do that. So if we don't claim some sort of power, then you might as well, you can see the future. You can see it literally written on the wall because history has repeated itself over and over and over. And a lot of people are saying we are at the 7th stage of the 7 stages of empire, America currently. And the same way the Ottoman Empire, the Turkish Empire, the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, every empire has fallen. You got to interrupt me because I will just rail.
I want to hear it.
I
want to hear it, I promise.
I don't endorse Donald Trump, but 75 million people voted for him, and they're probably going to vote again, and ignoring them, ignoring their pain, ignoring their struggle, ignoring why people are getting behind him. It doesn't solve anything.
Just referring to Palestine and that kind of movement, I do want to know, how can working class people who feel as though maybe they don't have the funds or they don't like to be on social media and just press a share, even that gets ridiculed at times, like, oh, you're just sharing something. How can they give their time into just helping the movement as much as they can, even though they don't have fiscal money or maybe don't want to publicly be this, because I feel like though a lot of people are like, hey, but I can share something and spread awareness, but that's not really enough as much that we need to be helped. But also I don't have the money to go donate. Well,
I think donating is terrible. I think that campaigns should not be financed by the public, period. I'm going to be 40 in a few months. I spent decades believing in the empire. Young. Merci. Thank you very much. I spent decades believing in the empire, right? I worked for the Obama campaign. Our last base was the headquarters for Bernie Sanders. I drank the Kool-Aid. I was like, it's not ideal, but here we are moving, and my energy and effort matters, right?
Yeah,
Q to 2008. I'm an inner city high school teacher in New York City. Total white curtain pulled from my face, right? That was the first time I really viscerally understood that there are a lot of landmines that don't detonate when certain white people walk over them, right? Or certain people in privileged don't walk over them, right? And so you start to really poke into the empire, right? And you start to really just see the recurring theme that we have a lot of reptiles in power. We have a lot of reptiles means basically like lizard brain, survival brain, like it's us or them brain, right?
Yeah.
That sort of that reptilian brain, and that's what I believe most of people in power are.
Yeah.
I don't. That kind of veering a little bit from your actual question.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think you're basically saying that.
Oh, you said how can people? Get
Yeah,
involved?
how can people get involved? So
not give money.
Not
run
give
for
money.
office. Support people who are thinking about running for office. Right? I feel like some people might bring it up, and friends like, "What the hell are you talking about, boy? You can't run for office. Like, you have no money. You like." Whatever, you have naked photos, like you have photos of you doing drugs, like whatever it is, you have no education, whatever. It's like we shame each other, we make each other smaller. When someone's like, I want to do this, we like, brother, because we are afraid ourselves of honoring what we want.
Yeah.
Right. If someone starts going for their dreams, we have to be like, what the hell? What do I really want? Which is terrifying.
Yeah.
And also we're afraid to lose people. As people start to elevate, as people start to become what they're supposed to be, if you're not elevating with them, like, it doesn't matter if you were besties when you were kids. Like if you become RuPaul, you just don't have the time or space to engage. So I think a lot of it is people just want to keep you in the village and so I would say that running for office, supporting people who either want to run for office or want to do something that seems so far out of status quo. It's like if we want to move to a place that is so far outside of status quo, then we have to empower the visions and the people who are like wanting to go there. And also, I will say, making our own content. The number one way I think fringe ideas and fringe candidates could get more traction, because mainstream is never, ever, ever going. CNN, Fox News, New York Times, they're never going to allow people on their show that are going to really threaten the story of the empire. So that means that we have to leverage each other's social media, but not in a like sharing the stories that the empire creates, right? It's like, if like, let's say that I were running for Congress and you were one of my friends and you had like 20,000 followers, like how can I get involved? Or how can I help? It's like, make content, right? Like what is content in your language, in your vision, right? What is it? What is that? Because then all of a sudden, if Taylor Swift and like Lady Gaga made posts every single day for the candidate they wanted to win office, right? Guess what? They have an incredible amount of sway, right? But pop stars, like all of these, it's basically like, I feel like a lot of people with a lot of sway are waiting around for people to step in to the gauntlet and say, you know what, like this might be crazy. Like, who the hell am I? I'm nobody. But all I know is that like my soul might be on the line, right? Like if there is some sort of God watching, if we're just going to sit paralyzed on the sidelines our entire lives, right? Then it doesn't feel very empowering to me.
At all. Okay. So I really want to ask what got you into this work. My father tells me people go through phases of life, right? No one's are exactly who you see. They've been other places. So now, like you said, you've had multiple degrees. I really want to know your degrees, but also even before that, like what got you into this work? What was your call to your soul?
Yeah. So, again, my first job out of college was inner city high school teacher in New York. And after 2.5 years of that, like I was pretty destroyed. So in like 2008, I left overseas and just spent a couple years overseas, 35 countries, just trying to reprogram my own mind, right? And then you come back into the empire and it basically becomes like, you want to do something, you want to do something. Like once you really feel compelled to stand up in some way, to embody your beliefs in some way, then it's just a matter of how you're going to do it, right? What's your lane? Like what is going to be your way of honoring your truth and your sacred contract with the universe or whatever, or maybe you don't believe in that. Like, how are you going to spend your time, right? Like how are you going to, and I feel like the more we start to educate ourselves in an experiential way, not in like a textbook that was written by the system, like in an experience, the more we meet people, the more we talk, the more we engage with reality, the further our beliefs go from status quo. And then we get all the way over here and then we have to decide, right? What is are we going to become social media people? Are we going to try to like do one-on-one whatever with people. Are we going to
Yeah.
do talk shows? Are we going to run for office? Are we going to just like forget all of this? Are we going to start nonprofits, whatever?
Yeah.
And for me, what always came back to me was like, no matter what's going on, no matter the cancers of the world,
Mhm.
creativity just was always there.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, there's a really great song, something like, it's basically like, whatever you're feeling, just sing. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever you're feeling, just dance.
Yeah.
Whatever you're feeling, just grab a paintbrush and a color and just start making squigglies, right?
Yeah.
Just
Completely.
transmuting the grief or the whatever we're feeling into something else, right? Into a gasoline for some sort of brighter blaze. And
Yeah.
that, I think, is the mission of my life's work, and certainly this foundation and this space is, how do we honor the ache? How do we honor reality? How do we honor a deeper truth and
Yeah.
then do something with it creatively, so we don't, like, you could get very pissed at the empire and want to just go and vandalize everything. You could get very pissed at the empire and just want to shut down or kill people
Yeah.
or flee or whatever. And it's like, well, what if we let creativity take the wheel,
Yeah.
right? And we don't play the oppressor's game. We don't fight fire with fire, right? We we honor the fact that these people are like hurting. I believe like these politicians are and just people in general, like bankers, billionaires, like
Yeah.
they're all so detached from creativity, I think, from
Yeah.
like the realness of life, right?
Exactly.
And pursuit of power or money or whatever storyline, that they really have forgotten what it feels like to just have your feet on the ground and remember that the breath in our chest, just, we don't ask it, we don't force it. The heart just keeps beating, the sun keeps coming out.
Yeah.
And so all the beautiful things, they don't require force, right?
Yeah. Of course. Can you tell me what are your degrees in?
Yeah, so I got 2 degrees from University of Michigan. One, it's a BTA, so it's kind of like theater, like the whole package of theater. So not just performance, stage design, production, direction, but also the history of theater. So I have one
Beautiful.
sort of degree in theater,
Yeah.
but from a different angle than just specifically performance. And then I have a degree, it's basically a BGS. And so it's like a hybrid bachelor's, which with a focus on English and poli-sci.
Okay.
And then I have a minor from our Lane Hall, which is LGBT studies. They used to, it was like one of the first years they really released this as an option to get a minor to really
that's
understand
lovely.
queer history and
Yeah.
feminine history. And then my master's is in education, which I got in New York while I was a high school teacher,
Oh, that's
fresh
awesome.
out of college, which
That's awesome.
is cuckoo.
Can I ask how long did you teach?
I taught for 2.5 years. And then like the system is pretty fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about it.
Right? Like, it's crazy how ignorant we are kept.
Yeah.
Right? And then you start to see how it's designed to
Are you
fuck
saying you
us
saw
up.
that in like the school system while you were being a teacher?
I mean, I have 120 high school kids. Suddenly I'm in, that their education, and not just their
Yeah.
education, their lives are like now intertwined with mine. And like, the system is designed to create precisely what it's creating.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I would have high school students who still didn't know the difference between 2, 2, and 2, TO, TOO, and TWO, right?
Oh, wow.
And the system, as you said, you're like, I don't necessarily learn the way that
Yeah.
this college wants me to, right?
Exactly.
And it hasn't done a good job at finding a way to cater and honor all the different ways that we learn.
So you believe in the prison, like the school to prison pipeline?
Oh, it's like top 5 most profitable endeavor for this country, right?
Yeah.
War and sickness and the school to prison pipeline. These are like that's America. That is.
Yeah. Okay. So would you say that experience of like teaching is what got you into making a change of like politics and things of that nature? Okay. So in a roundabout way, basically, I wanted to know what got you into your interest in politics and things of that nature.
Well, I thought that education could help.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this is a burning house.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought a nonprofit could help.
Yeah.
So I started one.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing how the system keeps you in the box,
Yeah.
keeps your keeps you still kind of powerless. Like
Yeah.
keeps you basically nonprofits. It's like, okay, well, we'll start a war, the government,
Mhm.
and then a nonprofit can start to like send food to the people who got fucked up.
Yeah.
So it's like, this also isn't right? Because
Yeah.
now I'm like building an empire that is like nonprofit, saying we don't want to make a ton of money,
Mhm.
we want to do the good work,
Yeah.
and then so then I was like, okay, well, and then I believe in art and I
Mhm.
believe in creativity. I'm a performer, I'm a writer, I love to produce events. We
Mhm.
produced 150 events last year.
Yeah.
And so it's like, let me just focus all my energy on that. And it was great. And then you start to
Yeah.
see, wow, all these news articles, everything's being written, everyone's like, but it's, again, the mentality isn't shifting.
Yeah.
Right? The policies aren't shifting. Right? So it's
Mhm.
like, okay, so education doesn't seem to really be the answer.
In your position as of now, do you feel as though you don't see the good that you're doing? Because I
I
feel
see the good.
can you
I see the good.
can you tell
Yeah.
me the good that you're doing?
Yeah, I totally see the good. I think, yeah, it's easy, especially lately,
Mhm.
because of like what happened on October 7th really fucked me up, right?
Yeah.
The Middle East thing that's going on, it's
Can you
really
explain
eating
what
at
happened
me.
on October 7th,
On
please?
October 7th, some extremists, right? Some Islamic extremists, some Hamas extremists, basically killed over 1,000 Jewish people in Israel, right? Just like
Wow, I didn't
sneak
know that.
attacked. It's hard to even talk about because there's so many things that, in the same way that I'm not entirely sure 9/11 wasn't an inside job. I'm not entirely like, so I don't have high hopes. I have high hopes for us. I have high hopes for Americans. I have high hopes for individuals. I have high hopes for people around the world.
Mhm.
I don't have high hopes for the government. I don't have high hopes for billionaires. I think they are mentally unwell.
Yeah.
So I have to keep reminding myself to come back down to the sacred, joyous place, the creative place, the place that is reminded of the good work I am doing, the good work we are doing, because it's easy to feel like you're doing all this great stuff and you're basically just rearranging deck chairs on a sinking Titanic.
Yeah.
Right? And that doesn't feel good. And so I think my whole 20s and early 30s, I was doing a bunch of work and I thought it was really powerful and impactful. And then I zoom out and I'm like, but minimum wage is still the same. More people are dying overseas, right? Like reparations aren't realized. Universal basic income isn't. So it's like all of this work I'm doing, what is the material larger change that's happening, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm focused now, is like, I can see the power of this work, right? It's irrefutable. There's something magical about inviting people into space, and not just this space, but just space wherever, outside, inside, and say, we hosted these silent discos last summer with 1,500 people coming.
Yeah.
Outside, free. And there's art and everything. And it's like every walk of life, every age, every race, like just coming together, hanging out, not even thinking about necessarily what makes us all different, because the music like makes us all forget, right? Like the dance floor truly is a place where I think it can just capture us before we are ideological, before we have opinions on gay people or Muslims or ourselves. There's a non-binary place where we're just energy, where we're just light, where we are truly this material, right? We are this quark material. And when we go back to that place, I think magical possibilities can open up in that space. Hi, Loki.
It seems. Hi, how are you? It seems as though
we're doing a little interview thing.
Yeah, it's an interview. It seems as though you are into building community and the power of community, and just like giving a space. I do want to know how can building a community help in other ways?
Mm.
Like, how can we just the sheer power of community, all these people together, how can the sheer power of community assist in politics or really anything? How do you hone that power into something that could build?
I think it's a great question. I think we are trained to stick to our own,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're trained to protect ours,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're not necessarily trained to see the entire world as our family,
Yeah.
right? We're not even necessarily trained to see an entire neighborhood or entire block or entire room
Yeah.
as people that are our brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and cousins in like some larger way, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so getting people together, Trump supporters and their queer sons, for example,
Yeah.
getting disparate people together who the system, again, I keep talking about the system, but I do believe that education and news and media and even our own parents were kind of a little bit parakeeting what kind of is not necessarily fed to us, but what we engage with, right? Whatever we
Yeah.
engage with is kind of what we become. And so
Yeah.
thinking about community through a lens of what does it look like to truly get melting pots together? What does it look like to get every race, every religion, every orientation together in a creative sense, in a place where we can see each other's vibration before we see each other's politics or skin colors or who we like to have sex with or anything else,
Yeah.
and get groups of people together in a space where they're flowing. And then when they're in that flow state, then we dive into something real. Then we dive
Yeah.
into something that is going to make someone there uncomfortable. But because there's this container, there's this safe container we've co-created together that's real, that like is like a womb. It's like an actual co-created temporary womb. And in that space, I think like white supremacists, I think in that space, like racism, anything. I think in that space, like our own inner critic, right? Our own, I think in that tender space, which I think gamification does that, anywhere where we have some sort of thing that gets us all together and then we can dive into something. So that's kind of the direction that I'm trying to go into, right?
Okay.
Is like, what does it look like to not just come together and immediately talk about universal basic income, right? What is it? Because then people shut down. They have opinions. You say the word socialism, you say the word welfare, you say whatever words, people have their opinions immediately. You say the word Democrat, you say the word Republican. People have their immediate decisions on what those words mean, right? And so it's about, like, I guess part of what we're trying to do is like, what does it look like to have a more real, winding discourse?
Can I ask, are you religious?
Yeah.
And if so,
Yeah.
like in the sense of like Christianity or like how, in what way would you say you are religious?
Well, I grew up Christian.
Yeah, Christian.
I grew up Christian and I was very religious. And then, and then I came out, right? And then I found out that, oh wow, God made me not like girls, like I like boys.
Yeah.
And that makes you lose your religion, right? Religion is not kind to queer people. Right. And I think that's by design. I think the church, people who created the church knew that the two most powerful factions, I believe, are Black people and LGBT people.
Yeah.
And the system knew that if they created a God, could convince people that one group was wrong. Right. I believe the biggest reason why Black people and the queer community don't necessarily see each other as much as I think they could and like get along as much as they could is because I believe the Bible. I believe the church. I believe the church teaches people bullshit, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't choose to be the way. I mean, this is literally like, you go through years of trying to make that not the case. Like, let me try to like straighten myself out, whatever, right? Because I don't want to lose my religion. I don't want to lose my family. I don't want to lose my faith. I don't want to lose my place in heaven, right?
Yeah.
And then I spent, all my 20s and 30s refinding religion, right? Spending time meditating with the monks in Thailand and going to mosques and being with Muslims in the Middle East and really seeing that God is.
You were openly like queer in these spaces?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So now I
How
think
do
I'm
people, like,
I'm
embrace you in
Jewish,
that
I think
moment?
I'm Muslim, I think I'm Buddhist, I think I'm Christian, I think I'm atheist, I'm all of it, right? God
Yeah.
is definitely bigger than what any one religion wants to make God be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's impossible for God to be what one religion says, because literally God includes all. God is an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
God is everything, right? God is the universe. God is everything. So there's no way God would have said, okay, we're going to fling 1 billion of you in the Middle East and your religion's going to be Islam and you're wrong. And we're going to fling a 300 million of you in America and you're going to be Christians mostly and you're going to be wrong. It doesn't make sense. And that's why I love Buddhism. It has flaws, but Buddhism is basically like, there is no God in the sense of like you can point to them. They don't have animate features that you can like you are God. You're part of God. You're part of this universal thing. God is not something you can think about and hang on a cross and create storylines about, right? You can do that because we all want to have stories about God, but it's not the only truth. Like all of these stories are trying to touch at something that we can't touch at until we leave this plane.
I saw somewhere it was like there's two kind of forms of religion. One is you trust in God, you align yourself with God's alignment, and you kind of don't worry about anywhere else, and then it kind of ensures growth throughout life. Or it's more Eastern way of thinking is that you align yourself with who you are and the earth, and like just your feeling and just like kind of knowing yourself in the most absolute level, and that will help you kind of hone yourself into like your personal right vibration to direct yourself in like in any way you want. It's interesting that you tell me that you've kind of been to the temples and you've been to. I do want to know just your experiences in these spaces and what kind of led you to go there, because I think that's a big step to be like, okay, I'm gonna go kind of overseas and like find other forms of religion, being like who you are in this queer form, knowing that maybe they won't accept you.
Yeah. I mean, when you think you're losing everything, right? In 2008, I really like the world stopped making sense. In my mind, I died, right? That was the year I died. And then I had to begin the process of like rebirth almost.
Yeah.
Right? Died in the sense of like everything I was taught, everything that was birthed into my DNA, right? We are literally holding our ancestors' DNA in our bodies, right? That process, you're in free fall. You have no choice but to start reading all of the books, talking to all the people, visiting all the countries, exploring all the religions, trying to refine what basically was taken from you because you spoke your truth, right? Right? The moment I tell my family and my church that I can't date the preacher's daughter anymore. I can't keep this going anymore.
Wow,
like
you were dating the preacher's
I'm actually
daughter.
like into her brother. Right?
That's a wild
and so
setting to
luckily
be
we're both
in.
waiting to get married because that's what you do when you're religious. So I didn't actually have to do this with her.
Break that story down.
Yeah, break that story down. How are you dating the preacher's daughter?
This is like it's actually I actually years later I crashed her wedding.
Yeah.
Because like we basically stopped talking
Like,
a little bit.
complete.
Like I left for it doesn't feel great
Yeah.
to have your boyfriend like leave for college and tell you that they like boys.
Yeah.
Right? That's painful.
Yeah.
And I remember like laying in bed with her because I had my
Think
own
it was her
house. My
fault?
family left. I was like 16, I had my own house, and like and she's like, we're like laying in bed. She like stayed over, told her mom she was staying wherever.
Yeah.
And like luckily God, like I'm just very grateful in that moment, like then, that we both believe so much in God, and God like made it so clear to us that we weren't supposed to do things together.
Yeah.
You know, and now he lost his religion. His father doesn't talk to him at all. Right? It's the same story. It's just like, it's what happens, right? Like the dads cannot process that they produced their sperm, produced this, right? And especially with Islam, right? This is a religion that still is very
your husband's Muslim?
homophobic. He's not anymore. But he spent his high school years in the Middle East, and Yeah, you're like, you know that Bill. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Sloppy Secutious strikes
I
again.
apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad was off my shit.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, real talk.
I real shit. I don't think I would.
My dad stopped. We didn't talk for years and years and years. And then my dad's older, and so his health started failing, and nothing makes things into perspective like death.
Yeah.
And so he himself started to ease up, right? Because he was a party animal, but then like he was an alcoholic, and he's like, I gotta save my life. So he turns to Alcoholics Anonymous, and Alcoholics Anonymous turns you to religion. And so my drinking dad, partying dad, whatever, sort of like to save himself became a Bible thumping, Trump supporting, conservative Christian, like basically disassociated with his younger self, because this was a path, right?
Yeah.
For him. And so when I came out, it was catastrophic. And now we have a pretty good relationship. Like, he wants me to run for office. And he just said that for the first time. Like, he's like
presidential office? Like what?
Well,
what
for
office?
Congress. Well, for whatever. His whole point is that, he now sees, because we spent decades arguing, me being a crazy Democrat and being a crazy Republican. Now I'm no party affiliation. But then in my 20s, we'd have these insane fights. Like, we'd have knockout, drag out fights. And now he sees Republicans like basically in the same way he sees all the rest. He understands that they're all crooks. And it took him several decades of us fighting to finally see that, right? All of them are lying, and they're all crooks. Fox News and CNN is owned by the same company in the shadows. That's it.
Not like you.
Yeah, that's it. That's all there is. That's literally it.
Wow.
That's really it.
Everything exists on a spectrum. Everything exists on a spectrum. I say often that I don't believe in the devil. I don't believe in like just at least not the way that it's been depicted throughout the times. It's as if like, oh, if you do something bad, there's somebody that's gonna be like haunt you, right?
Which would be the strangest God ever.
Yeah. Like I don't know. And then but as I progress throughout life, I feel like I'm growing in the sense of there's some like as to say there's some people who never see good. There's some people who genuine kindness is so like abstract to them that they feel as though that they can't rebel and find themselves in different ways and different forms because they're afraid of the big bad devil. But just because they haven't seen this good doesn't mean that they're like not still on that path towards getting closer to God or the light if they're born in the dark. In that sense, I feel as though everything, like it's even colors. Like even like on the metaphysical level of science, like it's all just a spectrum.
Sadness and darkness and depression and angst and paralysis is addictive. Fear is addictive, right? But also so is love and art and creativity and flow and imagination and belief and all of that, right? It's super addictive, but it's also scarier until you really find, okay, it's okay to just be happy. It is okay to just really be grateful and playful with my time on earth.
I do want to ask, what made you? Did we talk about this? To be honest, did we talk about this? Just embarking on like finding now studios, your process in getting the nonprofit. I'm not sure exactly the numbers.
501c3. Yeah. That was like a year and a half waiting for the government to give us the okay.
Okay, wow. So what was that like? What was that submission process like? That idea sparking your head that I need this space?
Well, this is like our fifth. Well, I should say mine, but like this is a group effort somewhat. This is like the fifth brick and mortar space that I've opened. I don't know if you know Ziggy's.
Ziggy's, yeah, we know Ziggy's.
So that used to be my space.
Wow.
So that was an empty, vacant, abandoned building that hadn't been used in years. And I, in 2015, renovated it, spent like $75,000 in my credit cards.
Yeah.
Kind of on purpose to like not pay them back, to just like
fair enough.
blow up my credit, making a community space.
Mm.
And like 10 years later almost, and you know, they have 30 nights a week or 30 nights a month, they have live performers, and
yeah, that's really
it's
nice.
like the remodel was paid for by Visa and American Express, and my credit went from 800 to 300.
Wow.
And I just went overseas and lived my life and kind of like accepted that I wasn't gonna have a credit. And then after 7 years, all my credit, like all the debt went away. I'm being very real with you right now.
You're all in.
It all goes away, right? Now my credit is up again. And I haven't taken out any credit cards. I haven't done any. Like this was kind of my burning my ties with the system, right? This was me saying, okay, I played by the rules for decades, right? I built my credit to perfect, and I got the maximum amount of open credit I could. Yeah. And I made the decision, okay, this is a pivot, girl. Like, this is a pivot. You're going to max out. You're going to ruin your credit. You're going to not be able to have any credit. You're not going to be able to get an apartment. When you tell your friends this, you're going to have a lot of people who are pissed at you, who are going to blame you for saying, this is the reason why, blah, 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 because people don't pay it on. It's like, when you have a resolute devotion, this is why I know God, I believe in God, right? Because there is something higher. There's like almost like the future. It can tell you the yes a few seconds before it happens, right? Like you can get into a flow state where you are divinely connected with the deepest ground all the way up to the highest heavens. I believe that, right? And I believe that certainly cannot be contained in a Bible or a Quran or a Torah or any other scripture. Yeah. Although man has tried to bottle up God and make it accessible to us and give us commandments and things to follow, and this will get you into heaven and this won't, and created this devil character, like to try to understand the inexplicable. So I don't think we should blame people who founded religion, but I do think it's our opportunity now to be like, we could take everything everyone's talked about for thousands of years and now devise our own version of the divine. Yeah. Because I believe we are immortal, right? I do believe we are immortal where it counts, right? I believe this temporary tofu suit will like recede with the tide, but like our soul it's ours. It's the universe. It's for keeps. You know?
We talked to someone yesterday who called it a hotel. It's a hotel. We're just staying in the hotel and then we check out.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, we're in a little hotel, temporary hotel.
That's lovely.
And people's fear of death, I think, is what power plays on. Yeah. Because it knows that we're ultimately terrified of death until we get over it. Exactly. Right? And you can get over it and be like, it's fine. It's just like nothing. It's like a tag out with the other side. But if you keep people afraid of death, then you can tell them like, immigrants are bad. You can tell them like Muslims are terrorists, or black people are coming for whatever, like, or queer people that are assholes. Like you can suddenly play into that fear and create whatever shock and whatever narrative you want. And you can get people to do literally whatever you want, include pay a quarter of their paycheck to pay taxes that fund war, right? People will literally do whatever the system tells them because we are terrified. And a lot of people aren't. And so a lot of people are starting to be like, wait a minute, let me create some space here so like I can welcome people in to be like, yo, birth was your permission all along. You need to reclaim yourselves because we have some work to do collectively.
Exactly. Like this is your life type energy. Like there's nobody that can control your life the way you can control your life. I often tell my brother, I say, I'm just the older brother, and I feel as though these are the only qualifications that I have, and every hypothesis I have, any big idea, I don't voice it to my younger siblings unless I feel so strongly on it. So this is why I reference things I've told my younger brother. I told him like, no one knows you as well as you know you. And there's times that you don't even know you.
Which is a real trip. Yeah. As you start to disassociate and outgrow yourself. Yeah, that's super scary, but also very exciting once you see it's going to be for life, BB.
Exactly. Exactly. I feel as though he rebuttals with like, don't you think your parents know you more? I'm like, they don't know you. They don't know. He's like, but like you grew up. I'm like, I don't know you. And I just think that's a very nuanced feeling. I feel like it's easy to be bound by these other people who you look up to or feel love for. It's very easy to go through that process of like, this is my community, so I have to align myself with the same views as my community aligns like with. But as
the village
you
will
are,
kick you out
yeah,
otherwise. That's what we feel, right?
Exactly.
Who wants to be an alien outside of the village?
Exactly. And I feel as though it's a big step, something that you've gone through multiple times. I feel as though I've not voluntarily, but I feel like I've gone through the same situation with just family and just being out here. All my family is from Detroit, and I feel as though like I've been kicked out and just kind of out here in the space, and my entire childhood was based in that just limbo, and that just not really feeling as though I belonged, trying to go back home and be like, okay, and then we kind of bond over struggle, but like honestly I haven't really at least I can't bond over struggle as much as they've gone through, so it's like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not even gonna go through that battle. But
do they come out here and visit ever?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
They're like, I brought my brother here, and like he had a full conversation with Cree, and like you see my brother, like especially like first time conversations, he's waiting for you to come at him. He's like very defensive. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. He's very defensive. But
wait, the brother you're saying you've been giving advice selectively to is
no,
in this
my
space?
oldest brother.
Okay.
My oldest brother. He came to the space for the first time. It was very beautiful seeing him here. He had a conversation with Cree, and I don't know. We're very aware. It's like the perks of being traumatized. Just we're very aware. So he's standing there talking to Cree, and for me to be like leaving him with other people without acknowledging that was a big step. But I did feel comfortable. I did feel comfortable because his stance is defensive. We've been through so much. You're very defensive, and I'm like, Cree, the homie, like we can't get out of here. Like, and I feel as though it's when you're and a lot of people, when you say black people, a lot of black people get this rep because we're very standoffish, and we're kind of waiting for someone to say something wrong so we can protect ourselves. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, they're thinking like negative thoughts. They're thinking about hurting me, but really they're just thinking about, what is this person gonna say that's gonna like hurt me? And it's kind of crazy. I feel as though everyone, a lot of times, like we're living in this state of defensive-ness, when honestly, like no one like people want peace.
People
innately.
Want peace. People want
peace innately. Like it's
people
hard not
peace.
to.
I think a lot of people are terrified of befriending other because they think they're just gonna fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I try to befriend a trans person, I have just like a lot of friends who are just, they're just like straight people who just try to do good, but they're like, I don't even know how to behave. Like, what questions do I ask? Like, I just feel like people feel relentlessly like we're not human.
Yeah.
Like we forget that beyond like the things that divide us, which mostly were created by the system.
Exactly.
Like race itself wasn't actually like a concept.
Mm-hmm.
You just had different colors of skin, right? Like, but we're so because we've been sort of trained, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is. I have a lot of friends who are just like who just really don't have very many black friends.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like, and I talk to them. They're like, I'm not racist. I'm not anything. I just like, it's just like, they're just like, I don't know. No one comes. No one like, there's no one here. It's like, yeah, because you're hanging out in all white establishments.
Exactly.
Right. Because it's.
Yeah, the people are just afraid. Everyone's just so afraid. And this is why I promote the podcast. Is why I do what I do, because I think, like I said, peace is won and peace is like enjoyed. Even when I was a kid, and you probably have been in spaces like this, just laced in homophobia, and like just laced in homophobia, steeped in homophobia. And having my sister came out gay when she was pretty young. We were pretty young, and obviously I think there's a stigma, like just it's kind of more openly accepted when women come out as gay. Yep. But it's a whole nother step for them to be masculine. I'm not saying my sister is masculine. Probably if you, some people would say so, some people wouldn't. She's most definitely a real one. But
how does your dad take it?
This is my mother's children. I think we allude to a lot of things. We allude to just our viewpoints in life, and I think eventually, as you get older, especially it's like can't teach a old dog new tricks. You can't like save someone from things that they don't want to be saved from.
Mm.
So usually when just like that world comes up, he states his opinions as if there's facts. And I'm like, that's a very safe, because I love peace. I'm not gonna directly denounce you from the things that you've said as facts, because that will start an argument.
Yep.
And I'm not into that.
We're certainly not gonna reach other through this.
Yeah.
Right? We're only gonna reach other through this.
Yeah.
And through this. Right? Which is why I really, truly, with every ounce of myself, believe in the power of creativity to change the political landscape. I think if anything can get us to stop killing each other, stop fighting, stop fearing, is being vulnerable, being creative, being open to our minds and hearts being changed.
For sure.
Right?
Sure.
Which there's like you said, your brother came in here. It's like part of what I think we get to do as people who are, whatever you want to call us, creatives, indigos, whatever makes us fall from the family tree.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever makes us a little bit far from our family. At some point, if you're lucky, the apple keeps rolling and you find a new community. You find a new place that feels good and feels safe, right?
Yeah.
What I want to try to challenge us to do is when we find that new safe pasture, when we feel comfortable and we feel healed and we feel like we can, we turn back around and we invite our brothers into it.
Yeah.
Right? We invite our fathers into it. We invite Donald Trump eventually into it, right? Because it is a nectar. The same, it's the same thing that's like gave us the salvation and redemption and being like, oh my God, there's life after being a black sheep in the family, is the same thing that everyone else needs and could have.
Yeah.
Right? And so getting small-minded people who have never left their own block, let alone got a passport and left overseas,
fear-based,
getting them with other people in a way that makes them feel safe and seen.
Yeah.
Where they don't feel like they're about to come into the lion's den and be told how wrong they are and how bad they are and how stupid they are. But rather like, here we are, all humans, doing our little wiggle. Maybe some of your wiggles are a little like, and I think there's the theatrical way of getting people to deal with themselves in a way that's not so like,
this is the way you are.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, like nagging almost.
It never works. Every time I talk to my, like, for 20 years, just yelling at him, like, you're so crazy. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
He's not changing his mind. He's digging in deeper.
Exactly.
He's more convicted that what his beliefs are true. Yeah, force and force. This doesn't work.
Yeah, it's hard. It most definitely doesn't work. It's recording for sure. I do wanna speak a little bit on the future of you. What do you want to bring into this space, into this beautiful space? The things that you feel as though it needs, things like how it's gonna grow throughout the future. How long do you plan on having this space? Let's start there.
Well, my goal is to not. My goal is in the same way that Ziggy's now is Ziggy's. My goal is to, when I leave Tuesday, right, is in my psyche, the community now is like the community's project. Yeah. Right? Like it's still part of the foundation. I'm still going to do the work, but the ability to build something and let it go, or to like build something and then just get some distance from it so that other people can play and do the thing with it. And then I can now focus I think that the world needs like 10,000 of these spaces, right?
Okay,
I think
beautiful.
The world needs like every empty building in every city should be dedicated to creativity and art and playtime and magic and possibility and podcasts or whatever. So my goal, whether it's through the lens of running for office or whatever it is like just create as much space and time and resources and energy so that we as human beings can unwind our storylines, right? Like the truth will set us free, right? The truth is not facts, but it is real. Like there is a truth. There's a real objective truth, happening in every moment. So hopefully you'll be part of the, that
Yeah,
people will
the
just
creative
take this
change.
space over. This space hopefully will be having several events every day.
Mhm.
That's how this used to be. There was like 20 events a week happening here.
Yeah.
But that's taxing on a few individual people, right?
Mhm.
But it's almost like you have to do something until you can prove to people that it's a real thing. And
Yeah.
now it's like proven it's a real thing now. And now others are willing to make themselves vulnerable and host events and start to carry the thing,
Yeah.
So my goal is like, I don't know. I'm hoping I come back next time and it's like, I don't know. It's like totally different. It's like whatever you and everyone else sort of makes the space
Lovely.
be.
Most definitely. We're most definitely going to be here often. We want to throw lots of events.
Not your legacy beyond children, but what is your reach beyond your children?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what did you invest your time? I think it's so easy to spend all of our energy at our church with our children, and like investing all of our souls in this very tiny myopic little thing, realizing the village is what used to raise us.
Yeah.
Right? It used to be the village.
Yeah.
And that's what nature is all about. Like nature literally, like there's a mycelium underground network covering the entire
What's
world.
mycelium?
Mycelium is basically like the fruit of mycelium is like basically mushrooms, right? And so mycelium is this underground interconnected network.
Oh yeah.
And it's thousands and thousands
Mushrooms talk to
and
each other.
thousands of miles in length, right? But what this mycelial network does is the moment it's basically the intelligence network of nature, right? So if there is an oak tree that is not getting enough water, it's sunblocked or whatever, it literally is like it's nature's program, and it just sends signals out. So then the other oak tree next to it knows to like literally send its nutrients through its root structure to the other tree, right? They laid mycelium over this experiment they did in Canada. They laid mycelium over an oil spill. And they covered it in straw, put cardboard over it, and came back the next spring. That sure as shit, they tested nutrient-rich soil.
Yeah.
They took oil spill, covered it in mycelium, and now it was nutrient-rich soil ready to plant your garden in. So mycelium is basically like, I think it's the closest thing we have to God.
Yeah.
Which is why I think mushrooms has been something that the system has been so adamant about not having us take, because mushrooms.
I have to do my research on
mushrooms prove that we are interconnected. When you're on mushrooms, like, the universe makes it very clear that we probably shouldn't be fighting each other because we're ultimately fighting ourselves.
Yeah.
And mushrooms are the only thing that have ever mushrooms and meditation, I think, are like the two things that reveal that. So ancestors are literally our DNA, our like lineage. So my grandfather, my grandfather's 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 grandfather's, all the way back to like the start of my lineage, which, right? So that's your ancestors. And science is proving, as we know, like you probably look kind of like your dad, right? Or your mom. Like we are our we are literally the chromosome. We are the actual DNA of what came before. And what came before, right? Like, you only have to go back a few generations. Pretty much all Western white people come from a lineage that really, really believed that white people were a supremacist race, that they were somehow like that it was okay to own slave, and that is still in the DNA. You have to work that out of your body. If you don't work, just like your traumas, like anything else, it doesn't matter your race. Like whatever your ancestors dealt with, they pass that shit down into your, it's in your bones. Yeah. And so we don't deal, I was talking to a very, very wealthy guy in town. He's one of our main donors. And he's like, Petals, if what you're trying to tell me and what you're trying to convince people, he's like, I agree, there's problems, there's issues, we got to deal with it. But if what you're trying to tell me and you're trying to convince people is that my ancestors have passed down their white supremacy and that I'm walking around with no choice of my own built into me, that's bullshit. That's no one's going to believe that. You're never going to win people over. And that's literally scientifically what is happening. Yeah. So very, very smart people, the people who are ruling this world, most of them will try to deny that and disassociate from that, right? Because they don't necessarily want to own slaves today, right? But you start to talk to them like, okay, well, if a group of black boys were walking down the street late at night, right? Would you, is there a chance where you might walk onto the other side of the street, right? And you start to really talk to people about what does it mean to, just because of what's, like, I walk down the street as a queer person with tight jeans and earrings on, and just that, I don't even look at people. There's nothing about me that you could decide if I'm a good or bad person. And you've already made an entire narrative around me, right? And that's built into our ancestors build that. I mean, also our conditioning and news and da-da-da, but
built in.
Bro, my mom and my dad had a mom and a dad, and they had a mom and a dad, they had a mom and a dad, right? And you just go back far enough, and it's like, this country was founded on supremacy and racism. It killed all the Indians, invited all the Africans over, and said, like, build shit for it. The University of Michigan was primarily built by African people. Well, there is a lot of theories that say the color black.
Exactly. He's like, first off, brother, you presume that they have a soul. And I was like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
Well, what if white people aren't born with souls? What if we're just like dry ass saltine crackers who have to like find ourselves, and if we die never like finding ourselves, like that could be true. I know a lot of soulless ass.
Do you have a soul, man?
I feel like I'm in the process of reclaiming my soul, and I feel like I have a soul. But maybe I wasn't born with one.
But I get you.
I don't know. That's interesting to entertain. I think that racism is a mental illness. I think billionaire status is a mental illness. I think that maybe white people aren't born with souls. I don't know. But that generational curse is like biologically based. It's the quark in your body, right? Like it's not a fluke, right? Yeah. It's like my dad also, I come from a line of addicts, right? I am someone who has a very addictive personality, and I can either fall prey to that, or I can like be there with it and like accept it and not ignore it and say that's not true. That is reality, and I can shift, I can pivot, I can work out the parts that are fucked up in myself. I have like, look, this is why people say like, you know, are you religious? Like, I have a golden thread of protection around me. Like I've been over 50 countries. I put myself in really fucking dangerous situations. By a rule, I love to put myself in those situations. I've been jumped more times than I can tell you. And like,
I walk with God.
Period. I love that.
Thank y'all for watching the Shanti Show. Please, there'll be ways to donate or tap in. I know you don't say you don't believe in donation.
Express your yes.
That's in the description. I love that in the description. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Stay blessed.
Wait, I thought the outro was supposed to be
Stay blessed.